Hello and welcome to Building Your T-Shirt Empire. I'm Cole, and today I am with Andrea Lake. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, thanks for having me, first of all. My name is Andrea Lake, and I've started 14 companies since I was 18 years old, many clothing companies, including anti-establishment clothing, and Delinquent Distribution, which owned the exclusive sales rights for the merchandise on Minecraft, World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Walking Dead, and loads of other massive video games.
Wow, that's amazing. And how, let's just start at the beginning. How did
Mhm.
you break into the industry in a way that actually was profitable? What was that first business?
So the first business in apparel that I started was anti-establishment clothing. I had owned a different business called Rhythm Sticks, selling these juggling toys, and I met a guy that was selling $1 million a year worth of t-shirts. And I was like, that is all the money in the world. I am going to go do that.
Yeah.
And so I started a clothing line that specifically targeted head shops and tattoo shops and sort of music stores, record stores, which don't exist anymore. And I just made a catalog and had a bunch of designs. I had 98 designs, and I would take them to all of the local stores in San Diego and Los Angeles. And I had a really high yes rate. Like a lot of the stores just immediately said yes and started carrying my line, which was really lucky and really good.
And so where were those designs coming from? Were you involved in the art or were you paying people? How did you create designs that were successful?
They came all out of my pretty little brain. And so they were mostly like slogan t-shirts. I actually legitimately, this is a true story, got a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada and drank it with my friend. And we wrote down 200 designs, and 98 of them we chose for our first catalog, because I didn't realize how absurd it was to launch with 98 designs that at the time we had to stock in inventory in, medium, large, XL, double X, and women's shirts. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But that is how I started, and it was a lot harder back then.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
when you started that, what was your initial pitch? Were you just sending a mailer to the
Yes.
business and then you did a follow-up phone call?
So we did have a website, even though this was in 99. And yes, that's exactly right. So I created a catalog. The first catalog was horrible. I created it in Microsoft Word and I printed
Wow.
it at Kinko's. But then I very quickly found a professional graphic designer. And again, these were just slogan shirts. So I just picked a really cool font. It was very consistent: black shirts, white print, 2-color back print for anti-establishment. Our logo was an A and an E put together to look like a backwards dollar sign. So it was a very cool logo. And
That's
I
smart.
just started, I just started going to the stores. Like I literally just would physically myself go to all the local shops and hand them a catalog. And then I bought a mailing list of all the tattoo shops in the country and all of the head shops in the country. And I mailed out, 15,000 catalogs. I would mail 1,000 catalogs a week and make 1,000 phone calls a week. It was
Wow.
crazy. It was crazy pants.
You were grinding so hard.
So hard. And I did $1 million in the second year in sales.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible. When you were doing that back then, were you just with like a local print shop that you had to trust fully?
I
Yeah.
certainly was. I quite quickly I started to get backup print shops, but I was so lucky. They are still in business. The screen printer that I used down in San Diego, Hot Squeegee, and they were just great. They were just great with me. They were, they were like a medium-sized print shop at the time, and we kind of grew together.
Yeah.
And they got, bigger, and they just always treated me super well. And I just negotiated really hard with them on timelines, because that's what I cared about the most, was like on-time delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I expanded to have backup printers, because of course then they would get, but you're a screen printing shop, so but they would get bigger orders, and all of a sudden it was really hard to print my smaller orders necessarily on time. So
Yeah, it seems like all the big print shops had some sort of lucky break.
yeah.
So then that lucky break justified the expansion. And then once they were expanded, all of a sudden they could take a 10,000 piece order. So that kind of allows for more business. But almost every shop I know that got big, they're like, oh yeah, I printed for Rihanna in 2004. And you're like, well, no wonder you got big. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And for them, I was their lucky break, because in addition to owning the sales rights on all the video games, Delinquent Distribution actually started out as like mildly irreverent t-shirts, slogan t-shirts for Hot Topic. So at one point I had 40% of the wall space in Hot Topic with my slogan t-shirts.
Wow.
I know, that did not suck. And so
40% of it.
40%. Yeah. With that, for the designs, the way that we acquired the designs was I owned a company called Sticker Junkie, and I had a huge mailing list. And this was, again, still early days. Maybe this would have been 2002 by then. And I just emailed the mailing list and asked them for funny joke slogan t-shirt slogans, and that if we used them, we would give them $500. And so we got a bunch of our designs that way.
That's so great. So tell me more, because on the print side, I feel like getting into retail is like this mystery box for me, just because I've never tried to do it. So tell me, how do you get your foot in the door with like a PacSun Hot Topic kind of a company? How do you make someone even answer that first email?
So the best way to do it, first of all, is they want proven, tested designs. So the actual course, the easiest way to get into a PacSun or a Hot Topic is you have to go to the mom and pop stores first. Like, you just have to put in the time. That's sort of like paying your tuition. So they're usually not looking at a t-shirt company until they're in, at least 100 smaller shops. Because then when you get into a smaller shop, like a local tattoo shop, let's say, you actually know which of your designs is selling on that impulse in-person purchase, because you can see what the stores are wanting to reorder. So then it's like less of them rolling the dice when they take a design into a chain store, because the way that it works with chain stores, should I explain the way that it works for the t-shirt companies and chain stores?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Is that they will take a sample order, right? So like, we'll take Hot Topic, for example. I know I'm talking about them a lot, but I love them. I still love them. We have a really long-term relationship together. They had 1,200 locations, and they would order, so for a full store buy, they would order maybe 12,000 of each design, each individual t-shirt design. So if they're buying 3 shirts from you, that would be like 36,000 t-shirts total. But they test 600 to 900 of each design. And then they take that and they'll put like 12 of each into maybe, however many stores that is, right? Like 40 or 50 stores. And that's their sample test stores. So then your shirts out of those 600 or 900 that they're purchasing on the sample buy have to sell through at over 10% per week. So you have to sell at least 60 of those 600 even to be considered for a reorder. And then you're in a really safe space. If you sell like 90 in that first week, then they're for sure going to do a full store buy with you. So that's basically how it works, is that they're testing you. But the buyers themselves in chain stores are bonused on sell through and on being able to pick designs that sell through. This is why they want somebody that's selling in at least a minimum of 100 stores. We were selling in over 500 stores prior to getting into our first big chain store, like 500 mom and pop stores around the country. So when I would talk to my buyers there, I'd be like, hey, this is just killing it for us on the ground. So then they would have a really high degree of confidence that my stuff was going to sell through in the store, because I already saw so many buying patterns.
That's really interesting. And how do you think that's going to change in this like bizarre landscape of retail being like hit tremendously, and e-commerce like moving 5 years into the future in the span of a few months?
It's been so fun to watch that happening, because it's so much easier to like test something really quickly on e-commerce. And then you automatically have algorithms that are going to pop the t-shirts that are the best sellers to the top. I mean, everything is so much easier in metrics and tracking your sales and figuring out for a really low amount of dollars what's going to sell. However, any physical product is still a tactile experience. So people are way more likely still to buy just about any physical product, and most certainly a t-shirt on an impulse if they see it in person, if they're physically touching it with their hands. So I do think that, in a year or two, once things start, maybe in 18 months from now, when things start to really normalize, you are going to see a lot of stuff going back to a physical, tactile, in-person experience, because no matter what, when you see something, you want it more. When it's in your hand, when you're touching it and feeling it, you want it more. So yeah, I think it's going to revert a little bit.
That happens to me at shoe stores. Like I can scroll the Adidas page for hours and I won't buy anything. But when I'm like looking at that wall or holding something, it's over.
Yeah. My business partner is actually in teacher, and I'm on the board of their company, Combat Flip Flops, is having that issue right now, because they do most of their stuff online, but they really have mastered how to get it through. So the way that you would get it through, the way they're getting it through, is a really good example of how people convert well into e-commerce, which is just to have sick photography, great advertising, really good videos, just like stuff, because basically photography is one of the greatest equalizers that you can get Like if you have a little Shopify site, but you have phenomenally good imagery, it's going to make it look like, and anybody can do this. So for any of your listeners who are really, really beginners, that the internet is a great equalizer. If you do something that is well designed and that looks good, you look like a much, 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 much bigger brand than you are.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. When we first launched in like 2012, one of the only things we had going for us was our website looked like it was from 2012 and not from 1999. And so we would get calls from people that trusted us, and they didn't understand that at that time we only had a manual press, but it was just the presentation online looked better than shops that had been open for 20 years. So it was like, it's true that your online presentation is kind of everything. And how do you think people should market themselves without just throwing a ton of money into ads? I mean, are you just a big proponent of social media, or is there some additional secret to it?
Yes, I am a huge proponent of social media. Like right now, you can just get the word out there almost for free. It's crazy, actually for free. And so I think the thing that I have found the most success with for a free start out, it's one of my best tricks, and I hope that all of your listeners do it, is to whatever the influencers are in your particular category. Like let's say we'll take Dan Caldwell for an example, my business partner that owns Tap Out. So he has loads and loads of MMA fighters on his side. But even if you're just starting out, like, oh, actually a better example is Die Epic, which is my other business partner, Daniel Damasa. He's one of the teachers at Teacher, which is our t-shirt course. He made friends with a bunch of UFC fighters before they were famous. And so on the latest fight, he was there with a champion in a Die Epic shirt because the guy was his friend. So make friends with influencers in your market when they're small before they get famous, and then give them a percentage. Say, hey, share this link and you'll get 20% of the sale. And so then they're really highly incentivized because that's how they get paid, because all of these up and comers have huge, huge audiences prior usually to them being famous, who are really loyal. Even if it's only like 6,000 or 8,000 people, those people are like rabidly faithful within your market. So whether your market is yoga or golf or whatever your niche is that you're going after, give them an affiliate link and help them to make money off of your designs. And it's free.
So you mentioned the teacher course, which you guys sent me a link to. There was a lot of good information in there. What do you feel like the focus and goal of that course is? Why even tell anyone how to do it? You know, like what is your goal with that program?
Well, our goal obviously it's a business. So our goal is to sell a lot of courses. However, the reason that we started the course was because we saw all these people that just were, I'm trying not to swear because I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your podcast, but just were actually not t-shirt people and did not know how to do it. And they were selling these courses, for thousands and thousands of dollars that are just completely, just BS that are never going to help a person sell t-shirts. So I was talking to Dan, and he and I used to teach this class 15 years ago. We taught a class at the Learning Annex, and I'm like, we have to just put out a course that shows people how to actually start t-shirt companies, because this is bullshit what's out there right now. And people are getting totally ripped off, and we know exactly how to do it. So we ran a sample class, like just to see what would happen. And our now business partner from Die Epic took that class. He had done $6,000 in sales the first year. And then he took every single piece of advice we told him. And in the second year, he did mid six figures in sales just by following our advice, because it actually is a formula. And we have so many success stories like that. These girls from Catch Some Air, which is they're the cutest clothing line ever. All of the money that they make goes to help little kids with cancer. They have super cute t-shirts. They had sold 47 t-shirts hand drawn when they came to us. And now like they're in Walmart, and they've done hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales just in the last couple of years, because they took all of our advice. Because we actually, I've sold over 40 million t-shirts, and Dan, I don't know how many he's sold, but I don't know, hundreds of millions. And so we actually know how to start from zero and go to the first 10,000, and then how to go from 10,000 to 100 and 100 to a million. And it really is like a course that you can just walk down step by step by step and do that. It's not rocket science. Like there's a formula to starting any consumer product company.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I feel like we have a sea of people, because we're being in LA, we have all these people who come in and announce that they're starting their t-shirt brand.
Yep.
And they have no audience. They have no designs that I would consider like professionally made.
Yeah.
They have no marketing plan after they make them, and we never hear from them again. And so I think it's critical that people have some sort of path. And I really like that you guys are trying to lay that out for them.
Thanks. Yeah, it's just the same story over and over again. Like people fall down in any different company, like any different industry at a certain point, right? Like if you're opening your restaurant and you don't get your liquor license in time, you're going to fall down. It's not going to work out for you. If you're starting a clothing line and you don't understand what your margins are and you don't understand how to get eyes on your design, you can have the best designs in the world, but if you don't understand how to build an audience, then your company is just not going to make it. And if you don't have somebody that can articulate like what makes a good design and what doesn't, then it's going to be a problem for you. So we do try and solve all of those problems in our mogul course. And anybody who wants to get our book can definitely get our book, also called How to Build a T-Shirt Empire. Great name on your podcast.
Yeah, it's a pretty similar name there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
We'll have to check the date
on
who posted it first. That's what we'll have
well,
to do.
I mean, I taught my class in 2005, so I'm just a smidge older than you.
Well, I was a freshman in college, so. Yeah.
In 2005, oh my gosh, lucky you. I was not a freshman in college in 2005.
So, what is, like, let's give some people some free pointers. What do you think are people like? You have no money, right? Today, let's say you have no budget. Your budget is like maybe for your first $500 order. How is somebody supposed to spend that on a website, some sort of basic marketing, and actually just sell their first 100 shirts? I mean, what would you do today in that scenario?
What I would do today if I was starting out from scratch is I have more time than money. So this is what I recommend for people that have more time than money. Set up a Shopify site. It's almost free to set up a Shopify site. Get only the tools that you really, really need at first for your Shopify site. And I think it starts at like, $20 a month or something to run your Shopify site. Get your designs well done. So hopefully either you can design your own t-shirts or you have a really good designer that you know that you can get a deal with. If you don't have somebody that you can get a deal with, go on like Fiverr to get those first designs done. They're not going to be the best designs, but they'll be enough to get you started. And then get a service like Place It, so that you can have really good, that's a service that does really, really, really great photography that you can overlay your t-shirt design on, and it looks like you've had your catalog professionally done. Set up the website. You can do the website yourself. It is not rocket science. Anybody can figure out how to build a Shopify site. And then start building your social media. Do it for free. The easiest way to build your social media for free probably is Instagram, and definitely now TikTok, where you're going and physically liking different people who would be in your niche. So for example, for Yoga Junkie, you would just go like all of the yoga people over and over and over again and comment on their stuff so that they like you back. You would be sharing their posts or seeing if you could also share their posts so that they're getting traction and engagement, and just build these strategic partnerships from the ground up. I did have a rule when I started my companies, which is just do 5 random things every day for your business, and you never know what's going to happen. It came from Jack Canfield, that rule. And so we used to send t-shirts to everyone. And sometimes it would work out and sometimes it wouldn't. We sent so many t-shirts to Howard Stern. He never mentioned us. He never wore our t-shirts. He never did anything. But Blink-182 wore all our t-shirts all of the time. It's what got us into Hot Topic and System of a Down and all of these bands that were huge when I was starting anti-establishment clothing. So give away t-shirts to people who are up and coming. I have a couple of really famous stories in working with Blink-182, but it was because I don't even really know them. I knew their cousin because I grew up in San Diego, and I didn't even know him that well. Like my ex-boyfriend knew him, but we would give him so many free shirts to give to the band because I liked the band before they were famous. I was selling on the Warped Tour. They were playing on the 3rd stage. They were not famous. I gave them like a couple $100s worth of free shirts, which was a lot for me back then, but I really, really liked them. And then they became super famous and they never forgot. So I would do stuff like that. That's outreach. That's almost free in the beginning, because you just don't know how it's going to turn back around for you.
And so how were you doing it, or how would you do that now in the world of like print on demand, screen printing, DTG? Do you have like a quality standard for your own brands? Is is
Yes.
everything screen printed for your brands, or
Yes.
how does that work?
So for my brands, everything is screen printed. Like just in general, print on demand has not caught up yet to screen printing, in my opinion. It's getting better and better and better all the time. The quality is going to catch up. But a screen printer, like I just recommend always using professional screen printers. However, in the very, 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 very beginning, what I would do is start out testing designs with print on demand. Just test them to see what sells. And then the stuff, as you start to get sales and as things start selling, if you have $0, that's the way that I would do it. And then move into screen printing those designs, because the quality is going to be better on a screen printed design. We always recommend, if you're using a print on demand vendor, buy the shirt from them first. So you can see, number one, what their turnaround time is. Number two, what the shipping costs from them are going to be. And then number three, what the quality is going to be. And then wash the shirt a couple times, make sure it doesn't fall apart, make sure the ink doesn't come off. All of those things are like just standardized. Those are actually all super, super good tips that you should be doing, so you don't have angry customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think just DTG in general, like I know that when we have 2 DTG machines, and we know that if we run our highest settings, we can make the print look phenomenal.
Yeah.
But no one does that. Like no one's offering you. No, they show you that at the trade show.
That's right.
And then they do not print that way when they actually do their mass production.
That's right.
It's too slow and the ink's way too expensive, so no one does it.
I just was going to say, because we do own Sticker Junkie, and that is the thing. Like we print on a medium setting, but to print on the highest setting, it goes twice as slow. It takes twice as long to print the exact same thing. And like, you just don't have the time if you're doing volume to do so. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You'd have like $35 shirts. It would be a nightmare to actually make things nice on DTG, whereas with screen printing, there is no speed savings to doing it right. Like it's going to be opaque ink. It's going to wash well, things that DTG wishes it could like live up to.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I totally agree with you. There will be a day when DTG is fast and really incredible. Like some of the hybrid pieces that they're putting into the screen printing presses, those are really amazing. Where like you're screen printing a white base and then you're printing your top. That's pretty incredible stuff. But it's like $500,000. So it's it's not, it hasn't scaled down at all.
Yeah. Do you know, for your listeners who are in the beginning or sort of starting out, I do actually have a really great piece of advice. Not everybody in the t-shirt industry agrees with me on this, obviously, but this is my personal advice. Your time is limited when you start. Usually your dollars are limited when you start. Do not buy your own equipment to print with. Like so many people in the very, very beginning, they're getting marketed these super crappy machines that are like, oh, for $600, you could have your own screen printing thing in your house, or for $1,200 or whatever. First of all, you want to spend your time and energy building a t-shirt business, an empire that you are starting, right? And so if you're putting all your time, like learning how to be even a screen printer who is like decent, is going to take you a while, where you could go to a professional that's all that they do all day. Their equipment costs tens and tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout the whole shop. And it's going to look rad. So definitely I would go to a professional to get it done versus buying your own.
I mean, I agree with that. Even if you wanted to start a print shop, when we started Shirt Agency, I left a print shop I was managing and started Shirt Agency as nothing but middlemaning, because I knew that I could land jobs and I knew how to talk really well around like what you need in the industry, but I knew that it was going to take me years to get the equipment. So yeah, I middlemaned for basically like 18 months just so that I could get a big client and not get stuck like begging for a dozen t-shirt order.
That is so smart. And you know what's so funny? That's actually exactly how I started Sticker Junkie. We were a middleman agency for the first 7 years. The only reason we ended up buying our own, I've owned that company for 20 years, but the only reason we ended up buying our own presses was because people kept screwing up the delivery times for us. If we would have had a screen print shop that delivered consistently on time, I don't know that I ever would have bought the presses. They're so expensive. Yeah.
I always feel like my get out of jail free card is to keep the business open as a middleman company and just like sell the equipment and let the lease run out. Like that there's a lot to be said for just having the sale, and there's a lot less to the commodity act of printing. It's more about that like user experience and that relationship with the customer than it is like literally being on press. I think being on press is really limiting. If you're an owner who's on press, you're not making any money. You can't even be on the phone.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And yeah, and I totally checked out your website and it's beautiful. Like your listeners actually, I'm sure that they've all been to your website, but if they haven't, check out Shirt Agency because it's an example of how like you want your website to look. You want it to look like, whoa, these people know exactly what they're doing. I totally trust them. And you can feel that when you're on a good website that's well designed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I do so much for that website. Yeah, I've always felt like the whole website design thing has been kind of like a secret weapon. I'm amazed by seeing really like old school successful companies not being able to transfer. And at this point, they've had 20 years to do it. So it blows my mind the lead that they've blown by not focusing. Like especially this year with COVID wrecking so many people's businesses. It's been amazing to see these people who were like sportswear printers, for example, not being able to transition to the needs of e-commerce because all they ever did was just print for colleges and high schools. And when that demand disappeared on that side, they had no flexibility with e-commerce. They never implemented it for 20 years straight.
Yeah, it is super interesting. I have compassion because some of my companies are so long term and like I do understand how difficult it is for somebody to transition. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of people coming into a tough economy that their businesses are just not going to survive because you do have to be malleable with whatever's going on. And if you're older and you don't understand technology, like that's just not going to cut it in the coming up years. Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah,
it's going to come along and eat your lunch.
Well, hey, at least there'll be some good used equipment. So
yes,
all for the best.
Yes, in 6 to 9 months, the market's going to be flooded with it. I feel like.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty, but that's why everyone should be focusing on e-commerce right now.
Yes.
So tell us a little. We're kind of coming up on the time that we were talking about needing to finish by, but tell us a little bit more about the teacher's like website and how people can learn more about getting the course.
Definitely. So go to Teacher. It's 2 E's, TEEACHER, like teaching people how to do t-shirt companies. And the founders, all of us have really big brands. It's myself, Dan Caldwell, who is the founder of Tap Out Clothing, Matthew Griffin from Combat Flip Flops, who you might have seen on Shark Tank, and Daniel Damasa from Diepic. And we get together and teach everything start to finish, called the Mogul course. And we teach everything start to finish on how to start a t-shirt company. So everything from suppliers and distribution and getting sales and getting a great website and how to tell if your designs are good, getting your clothes on influencers and celebrities. It's just like a treasure trove of information. And if you're just starting out, we have a starter course. That is a great deal that teaches you how to get your first $10,000 in sales. So if you don't have $10,000 in annual sales, for sure, take that course because it's only $197 and otherwise you're going to beat your head against the wall and you're going to spend $1,000 just on mistakes and you're not going to know where to put your budgeting and you're not going to know, how to get a cheap website and all of the stuff that we teach in that course it's really, really, really good information. It's all the stuff we wish that we would have known when we started out.
Yeah, I mean, I ran through the $10,000 course one because you guys sent me a link and it was really good information. There's a lot of stuff in there that you kind of like, it's like, for me, I kind of guess I knew it, but it's always good to be reminded and have it like front of mind because you get in this rhythm of what you think is normal, but it's not really normal. It's just normal for you and your behavior. Yeah. So hearing somebody else who's doing a better job explain, hey, this is how we do it. It's good to be like, oh, hey, let's wake up. Let's do it.
Yeah, we're going to start running the Mogul course at the end of this month. We just run it a few times a year. And so I'll send you a link to that one because that's going to be the one where if you already have a t-shirt company, that's the one where you just get all of the information about how to just massively increase your sales, how to scale into stores, how to upsell online, just all of the stuff that you need to know. And we bring in tons and tons and tons of experts just because we know so many people. Like one of my business partners actually in Teacher is, he ran a huge creative agency in Manhattan that did like all of the marketing for Beats Music and Apple just tons. Yeah, just huge. Pepsi. And he put together the Beyonce Super Bowl Pepsi halftime show. He's just ridiculous. And he's my business partner now, but he also in a former life used to be a trademark attorney, which is crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he answers all of like tons of legal questions. We have a really great, get on our mailing list at teacher.com, and we have a really great public facing Facebook site where we give tons of information. And then we have one of my other best friends, Emerson Spartz, comes on there. He's the world's leading expert in internet virality. He started MuggleNet when he was 12 years old. So I've just taken this whole conglomeration of all of my networks and poured them into Teacher because I was just tired of people getting ripped off by shitty courses. So I was like, what if I just put together the actual best T-shirt course on the planet that shows people how to thrive and how to succeed, and really how to actually do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that it's not just there's that landscaper again. I'm glad it's not just, I feel like the courses that I saw, especially, I don't know, maybe like 6 years ago, there was like this flood of courses that were like, get rich quick with t-shirts, you know?
Yeah.
It was very like trashy, desperately like pump stuff on Teespring as fast as you can, kind of like joke shirts. Yeah. So I really appreciated that your course was like on a totally different level. And so I'm excited to do the mogul one.
Yeah, I'm excited for it to run again. It's so fun. Actually, Griff from Combat Flip Flops, who a lot of you guys have seen, who is now our business partner, when he started out, he came to us and they were $40,000 in debt. They didn't know if they were going to make it through. They knew for sure. They have grit. I mean, both of those guys are former Army Rangers that own that company. But once he took our course, it just shot his sales through the roof because his company already at the time, I think, was doing like 400,000 a year in sales. This is a few years ago. And he took our course and we mentored him, and it just went into the millions and millions in annual revenue, because the more you're making, the easier it is to make more. Like if you can get to 100,000, then you can for sure get to 1 million. If you get to 1 million, you can for sure get to 4 million. Almost always there's not really a cap until you start to deal with market size, which almost never happens before 10 million annual sales. So you really can just sell a lot of t-shirts.
I need to get to 10 million annual sales then.
I want that for you, baby.
Well, thanks so much for all your time. You were a great guest. You're like an infinite wealth of knowledge. So thanks again.
Thank you. All my business partners want to come on, so I hope that you have them on your show.
It sounds perfect. It can be a string of perfect podcasts.
I love it. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.